Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Germany has officially acknowledged that it committed genocide during its colonial-era occupation of Namibia and has agreed to pay financial support. German colonizers killed tens of thousands of Herero and Nama people in the early 20th century massacres. Survivors from the Herero and Nama population were later placed in concentration camps, exploited for forced labor.
Foreign Minister
Heiko Maas acknowledged the genocide this Friday and asked Namibia and the descendants of the victims for forgiveness in light of Germany's historical and moral responsibility. Mr. Maas added that Germany would support the country's development through a program worth more than 1.1 billion euros in a gesture to recognize the immense suffering inflicted on the victims. Thousands of people have gathered in Damascus after Bashar al-Assad was re-elected as the Syrian president. The parliamentary speaker announced that Mr. Assad had won 95.1% of the vote and that turnout was 78.6%. Syria's opposition have called the vote a farce, while the US and European countries have said it was not free or fair. Earlier, protests took place in Syria's largest rebel enclave of Idlib, where hundreds denounced the vote as a charade. Russia has denied entry to 2 European airlines because they plan to avoid flying over Belarus to Moscow. EU leaders asked European carriers to avoid Belarusian airspace this week after a Ryanair plane was forced to divert and land in Minsk on Sunday in order to arrest a Belarusian dissident journalist, Roman Protasevich, and his girlfriend. EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell has warned of the risk of escalation.
There was a big disturbance on the air traffic, but they still don't know if it is case by case, specific cases, or is a general norm from the Russian authorities. The risk of an escalation always exists. It may happen that the whole air traffic control can be disturbed, or it's just a couple of individual cases.
Hong Kong pro-democracy media mogul Jimmy Lai has been sentenced to 14 months in prison for participating in an unauthorized assembly in 2019. Mr. Lai is currently already serving time for participating in other demonstrations that year and faces a total of 20 months in prison. The verdict comes as mainland China is increasingly cracking down on Hong Kong's rights and freedoms. Japan has extended a state of emergency in Tokyo and other areas by about 3 weeks as the COVID-19 pandemic shows no sign of easing less than 2 months before the Olympics. The state of emergency in the capital and 8 other prefectures had been scheduled to end on May the 31st, but strains on the medical system remain severe. Japan has seen a record number of COVID-19 patients in critical condition in recent days, even as the number of new infections has slowed. 4 firefighters and 1 other person were injured after a fire truck crashed into a building in Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. According to media, the accident happened after an engine was responding to a house fire before being involved in a crash with another vehicle. Officials said all the people injured were treated and transported to local hospitals. The cause of the accident is under investigation. And finally, it's not every day you look out of your window to see a herd of elephants crossing the road. Well, that's exactly what happened to residents in Eshan County in Yunnan province in China recently. According to local media, 15 Asian elephants from the Mengyangze Natural Preservation Area crossed through the town. Local police closed the streets to allow them to pass without traffic. They are thought to have been migrating north since December 2020. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.